Hello, everyone, and welcome back to RIFC Nation. It's our first live show. I'm super excited to be doing this. If you're joining us in the chat, please say hi. Please send us questions, comments. We can see them all. We can read them all, and we'll get to them all on the show. Before I get started and introduce my guest, I'm your host, Matt. You can follow me on all the socials at RIFC Nation. Really cool if you're doing the Club Collector app. You can also enter the code RIFC Nation for a new pack with some pretty cool and exclusive items in there. So get another pack to your collection on Club Collector, enter RIFC Nation, and hopefully you'll get the awesome podcast one. But this one's cool. This is a live show here on YouTube. So if you're listening on the podcast, we did this one live, and we got some Monterey Bay fans and content creators joining us today. So I got Andrew and Chris in the house from the Union Report. We'll start with you, Andrew. How is everything going, my friend?
It's doing well. We've had a nice stretch of some sunny weather this week after a lot of rain, so I'm in a good mood because of that.
That's awesome. And Chris, how you doing, man?
Doing great, bro. We're so thankful that you invited us on. The Union Report is always happy to reach out to our brothers and sisters, locally and nationally to do some shows. So thanks for having us, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm thrilled to do this. I think it's really just cool connecting with fans from all over. So this should be a good time. Let's start kind of with everything. And how did you guys start your channel? How did you guys meet? How'd you get, deciding that you wanted to create content for USL Championship Club?
Chris, I'll throw that one to you to start if you want. Well, I don't know if. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. So.
Yeah, you froze up for a second, but I think we got you back now. Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Okay. So I met Andrew actually just by chance, season ticket holders, and our seats were next to one another. So I sit in S1, he sits in S2, and basically we just hit it off, man. There's an aisle between us. He's kind of in the bougier section, and but you know what? I looked past that and saw the guy inside, and so we just hit it off, and we decided season 2. We were like, you know what, man, let's start a podcast, bro. So we started doing this after, I think toward the end of the first season, we kind of thought about it, crafted an idea, and then learned how to use Instagram thanks to Andrew's wife, Josh. And so, yeah, all started, man, just seat buddies.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool to hear. Andrew, you've got a pretty unique living situation in connection with the club. So do you want to share that one?
Yeah, so we live in a pretty small community. So Chris and I live in different towns or cities, if you will, kind of next to each other, but they're, 20, 30,000 people. So the community is pretty small. The neighborhood where I live, there's players from the team that are kind of interspersed throughout the neighborhoods here. So you'll see them like at the grocery store, at the gym, one of the houses or apartments right next to ours has been with the team since the inception. So there's been a number of players that have lived there over the last 3 seasons. So it's really been a cool experience getting to know some of these guys a little bit more personally.
Yeah, it's good stuff. As we look to the match, one thing I'd like to know, as we are tenants as well right now, as we're not in our stadium, should be ready for next year. We're at Bryant University in Smithfield, Rhode Island. Talk to us a bit about your stadium and what it's like, capacity, what the atmosphere is like on any given match day.
Sure. I'll start with that one if you want. So we play at Cardinelli Stadium in Seaside, and that's about a 6,000 seat venue. I would call it a no frills stadium, but it's also got a really, really good playing surface. In my opinion, I've seen a number of the stadiums across the league on TV. I've not been to any of the other ones in person, but I think that they might be a candidate for the best playing surface in the league, and it's just a good quality stadium. Not huge, but big enough, and we've had some good moments there, especially when it's packed in with a crowd. So.
Yeah, you mentioned it being packed in with the crowd. Chris, what's the like average attendance like? What's the atmosphere like inside?
Yeah, I'd say I think it holds about 7,000. We probably pushed it to, I'd say, close. It felt like 9,000 when we played in the U.S. Open Cup against LAFC last year, because I'm telling you, man, there was not aisles were full of standing people. Like, it was crazy. But yeah, 7,000 probably is the capacity. I'd say we average about 49.5, somewhere in there on average through the season. As far as the atmosphere goes, obviously you have the supporter section that's like die hard, and there other sections, not so much. We all get into it. I wouldn't call it rowdy or anything like that. It's a pretty, middle of the table, I'd say, as far as energy level goes. But for big games, we do definitely get hype for sure.
Got that. You guys, you mentioned the supporters section. Here at RIFC, we have the Defiance, which brought an awesome atmosphere to our home opener. Do you guys have a designated supporters club?
Yeah, we have. I don't know. Would you? Yeah. We have our kind of. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, no. I was just going to say we have a few. I don't know about designated. We do have, they have to go through an application process with the club, but we have the Salinas Valley Hinchas, which they actually just for the home opener brought out a TIFO for the first time. So that was awesome to see. That's not something that's, just, hey, let's go buy one. It was handmade. It took up the entire section. So that was cool. We have Land C831. We have, oh man, who else do we have, Andrew?
Superfan Dan and Oz.
Yeah.
I don't know if
he followed me on Instagram, so I did see Superfan Dan.
Yeah. He's kind of our
union.
Yeah. A bunch of I don't know if they're considered official groups, but definitely some groups that show up and show out.
Nice, cool. So that'll definitely bring some noise, and that's always good. I don't think there's a ton of Rhode Islanders that are making the trip to the West Coast. It's probably one of the furthest trips that we could make. But I looked at you guys, kind of early on in the season. We got a 1-1 draw versus El Paso and a 1-0 win versus Phoenix Rising. And big shout out to Matt, who runs the Raising Anchor podcast. He rallied, got the Phoenix Rising fans all riled up on Twitter, not knowing who their owners were and all that. They seem like a very sensitive bunch. So I applaud you guys for that win. But, a win and a draw to start the season. What have been some of the highlights of your season, and what are kind of some of the strong points of this team?
I'll take that one first. Some of the high points so far has really been getting to know some of the new players. The team had a good deal of activity this offseason, bringing in some new signings. A couple of them have already kind of showed their worth already. Tristan Traeger, who they brought in from, I believe, Charleston, had the goal in the first game. Luther Archimede, he hasn't scored yet, but he's coming over from Sac Republic, and you can already tell he's a difference maker in terms of how he draws attention from the defenders. I think from what we saw that we've been kind of picked before the season started down towards the bottom of the list by a lot of people. So the fact that, it's only 2 matches, but started off strong has been a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, very good. We actually have a
Yeah,
question in the chat from Craig. So I'll get his question out there, and then you can come on in with that, Chris. But Craig
Mhm.
asked, what were the biggest surprises or hurdles for Monterey after joining the USL Championship in 2021? Any unexpected things that RIFC should be prepared for in our first season in the league?
Something that pops up for me is that I think getting the fans to understand the quality of the soccer being played is a big one, because a lot of casual fans, a lot of people that they're not hearing words like Premier League or Major League Soccer, and so they're just assuming like, oh, this is a rec league or this is a semi-pro, and it's like, no, there's like top quality talent
Semi-pro
in
is the big
here.
one we hear.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
this is like legit level. We
Yeah.
have people on Monterey Bay that have played in the Premier League or these top leagues. So I think that's one, and I'm sure Chris has others that he can mention as well.
Yeah, I think one thing to keep in mind is, I mean, you said it. It's really getting the level out there. Of course, like we beat an MLS team last season in the U.S. Open Cup, and we took another MLS team to penalties in the U.S. Open Cup last year. So, I mean, it's really just getting the exposure. But I know Andrew and I have talked a lot about just how the club grows. I know you guys are tenants right now. You haven't gotten your home field. That's super exciting. But one of the things is like season ticket holder perks, like how the things that they're doing in season 3 that I couldn't even have dreamed of in season 1, and the way that they show value for the fans. Right now they're probably just, oh my goodness, what do we do now? But in a year or two, you're going to be like, okay, I see they got their feet under them a bit, and they have a lot of exclusives that only season ticket holders can get, and then on top of that, they're also reaching out to the community, growing the fan base by having like mini packs of tickets, specials, things like that. So that's definitely one of the big things that I've noticed as far as like season 1 to season 3.
What you mentioned some of those values for season ticket holders. What is the club offering you guys? Kind of specific to that.
Putting Rhode Island under the heat
No,
lamp here.
I want to know what
So
I want to know what else is
season,
out there. So we got to push for.
there you go. Well, I know season 1, it was like, okay, you're a season ticket holder, and that's about it. You had your seat, and you had first dibs for any friendlies or cup games.
Little
But,
discount on merch.
We got these scarves.
Yeah.
This teal one in my background.
Oh, don't even get me into the merch, dude, because Andrew knows, like, I don't go to a game without stopping by there first. I'm on a first basis. But yeah, so like last season they did, I thought it was awesome. They did a exclusive season ticket holder event where you could watch live practice, and then after the practice it was catered. You got to go on the pitch, you got to hang out with the players, meet them, talk to them, kick a ball around with them. I think that was one of the highlights, I think. And then since then they've gone above and beyond, so they have like some season ticket holders now, depending on where you sit, they're throwing in like a couple of free drinks and things like that. So it's definitely been escalating from year 1 to year 3.
Yeah, and that would be another thing I would just throw in there.
Nice.
Not really what to expect, but what to do. Obviously, teams at this level, the permanence of the team is not nearly as set as like Chicago Bulls or Dallas Cowboys. Things can change if they don't have that level of support. So it's not just always going to games. If you can go to all the games, that's awesome. But bringing friends to games, shouting them out on social media, just doing different things to kind of raise that level of awareness is, I think, super important, especially in the early years, to really help the foothold. And honestly, like, I think every little thing helps, and just building that foundation.
Yeah, that's well said. We got another question from the chat. It's from my good friend Kevin, who Kevin runs the Quahog Corner on Twitter Mondays after matches, and he wants to know what is the Monterey Bay FC mascot and why isn't he as awesome as Chip? And the reason that I shout this out because today was apparently National Seal Day, so our boy Chip, our mascot, has gotten a lot of love, a lot of praise, and it was National Seal Day, so it's his day. So, what is the Monterey Bay FC mascot?
We don't have one.
Yeah. Nope.
No. Oh man.
It's been discussed a little bit. I think
So
the team
Kevin
did a survey.
nailed it. He is not as awesome as Chip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the team has kind of discussed a little bit. They've done like a survey, I want to say, but nothing's really come to fruition. They can't really do the Otter because that's our local college. That's their mascot. So I don't think they've really hit on anything yet that would be appropriate.
Yeah. Actually, our friends at Fuerza Union,
right,
which is Oz and Super. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
I was just going to say Oz and Dan at Fuerza Union, they had done a podcast on Tuesday, and they were like comparing the California sea lion to your guys' mascot and just likes and dislikes. And so we're right here on the ocean, so you can hear those sea lions barking nonstop usually. So
nice. I'll have to definitely check that one out. Let's jump into kind of the style of play, and what do you guys typically run as far as a formation, and what would you say your general style of play is?
Oh, technical stuff. I don't know this. Oh, you want me to go? I'd say if anything, our style is expansive. I mean, we're sideline to sideline, or touch line to touch line. It depends. I think they'll line up in a couple of different formations, but typically what you'll see from a MBFC game is very wide play. And you won't see a lot of solo dribbling. You'll see quite a bit of, passing right up to the last moment.
Yeah. Chris may have frozen up there. Just to kind of finish his thought, there's a lot of crosses. They're really emphasizing this year, it seems so far, a pressing defense. So I think those are kind of the main things. Yeah.
Yeah, so very similar to what we've seen from RIFC in the preseason matches, as well as our home opener. We like to press. We like to get out there wide with the wing backs. You're going to see a 3-5-2 from us. Pretty much. I don't think there's going to be much lineup rotation or turnover from this first match. But it's a high press, high energy system that we like to deploy. So sounds like against a wide one, it should be a wide open game and pretty expansive to watch and exciting for the fans.
Yeah. Definitely. Let's see.
Yeah, so I apologize. I think we're lagging up a little bit internet. That's probably my end on that, but we'll try to get that straightened out. What would you say the biggest strength of Monterey Bay is?
Oh boy, that's a good question. I think at this point, the biggest strength may be our sporting director and coach, Frank Yellup. He's got expansive experience. He's got 2 MLS titles under his belt. And so I don't think there's a lot of squads that have the kind of leadership in terms of quality and experience as him. And he's been there since day one. So he's someone that I would definitely point to and throw it to Chris to see if he agrees or if he has anyone else or anything else that he would mention.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest strength is the Union Report right here live. I'm just kidding. That was a shameless plug. I'd say on the pitch, probably our midfield with Rafa Baca there. He's such a polished distributor. He gets the ball around where it needs to be when it needs to be there. And bringing him in last year, Frank Yallop, I think, really solidified our midfield. We were having some injury issues there. And up front, I mean, this year we're really retooled. And we got some heavy hitters up there. Tristan Traeger, Alex Dixon, Luther Archimed. So, I mean, it's tough to say. If it's easier to say, I think our back line is the third of the pitch that concerns me most, I guess.
Yeah, that kind of leads me into my next question. What would you say one of the biggest areas for needing improvement is within the squad, or most vulnerable area in a game?
Well, I think we've always seen a lot of tinkering with the lineups, and so there's definitely some consistent starters, but it does feel like the lineup gets tinkered with some. And for some coaches that's fine, and for others they like to have those set rotations. And I'm not sure that we can say, or at least that it's obvious that we have those set rotations. So that's one thing for me.
Yeah, I would echo that
How about
to
you,
a
Chris?
degree. I would say probably our depth. Honestly, we're pretty thin on the bench. We brought up 3 or 4 guys from our second team. This year they made first team contracts, which is amazing for them. Please don't misunderstand me. They're just not as experienced, I guess. This is their first, professional football. And so I think just the lack of depth that we have, and I'm sure Coach Yallop is looking to maybe bolster that as we go through this season. But it's a little concerning right now.
Gotcha. What would you say? I know Andrew, you mentioned kind of where pundits or people kind of picked you guys to finish the season. What would you say your overall season expectations are?
Well, I don't know if it's an expectation, but I know we would certainly like to see the playoffs. The first 2 years, we kind of were languishing, in those positions right outside the playoffs, and right up until the end, both years, it looked like we had a shot. And then something would happen, and we would finish right outside. And so for me, I think in year 3, reasonable or not, an expectation would be at least making the playoffs, even if it's the last seed. They definitely made some quality moves, I think, in the off season. They kind of retooled that roster. So keeping that in mind, I think the only way should be up. I'm not saying that we're going to win or should win the championship, but I'd like to see that next leg up into the postseason. That would be an expectation for me.
And you, Chris?
Yeah, I'd say definitely the playoffs, man. I know from just a pure fan perspective, anytime we can get another game, I'm always so hyped. And watching the U.S. Open Cup draws last year, getting 2 home draws in a row, it was like more home soccer. Like, it was amazing. So I think, like Andrew said, we've been right there and right up until the wheels fall off. And so I'd like for not the wheels to fall off and we can sneak into the playoffs. I think we have a club that's strong enough to do it.
No, that's well said. Another point in the chat from Kevin Callahan. He says we need to be all over Rafael Baca. He's tricky. I was talking with Andrew before we went live with this one that you guys had Baca get Player of the Week. We had Clay Holstad in the Team of the Week. Clay may or may not have picked up an injury. We're still waiting to get a little confirmation on that. Pretty dynamic midfielder. Rattled a couple posts in the opener. Seems like that'll be a really fun matchup in the middle of the pitch. what can you guys tell us about Rafa Baca and, kind of what he's meant to your team?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would say Baca plays much more with his head than with his physical attributes. He's not the biggest guy, but he's very experienced. He's played professionally for, I'm going to say, about a dozen years. He was a highly regarded college player. And so he's just one of those guys that's been there, done that. And, even though he might not be able to muscle someone as big as Halstead, he's going to probably find some ways to get around that. And that's what you often see from him. He's also a guy that we've seen on a number of occasions that's kind of taken the team on his back. There was a game last year where he scored a game-winning goal where the team had been kind of struggling, and it was almost like a basketball play where he drove the paint. He drove right into the box area and just powered a goal in. And so we've seen moments like that from him.
Yeah. I think, and I don't want to if I'm lagging, I apologize, but I would say I think he's got 12 seasons with Cruz Azul and the Emmy Ekis. So when you look at those games down south of the border, man, those guys play rough and tough. And so Andrew's 100% right. He definitely plays more with his head than with the physicality, but I wouldn't underrate him. I don't think we've really ever seen him physically tested since he's come to the Union. I know last week they were on Archimed, nobody's business. I mean, hanging off him like a cheap suit, but I don't think we've ever seen that with Rafa Baca. So it should be really interesting to see how that plays out in the midfield, because he is absolutely vital to ball distribution for us.
Yeah, so that'll be an interesting battle to keep an eye on. I would say the one area that needed the most improvement from our home opener was our midfield. We relied heavily on the press, and then our back line throwing in some last minute tackles if we got beat on the press. So the battle of the midfield should be fun and wide open. And I know you mentioned you guys like to play wide and expansive, so there should be a lot of room in the middle of the pitch for both teams to operate, and that'll be definitely interesting to keep an eye on. I want to jump to another question in the chat from Tim. So Tim said, just got into the USL last season in anticipation of RIFC and already hate Hartford as our rival. Just being from Rhode Island in general, we don't like Connecticut. Just in life, I guess, as it is, there are our angry neighbors. Who does the Monterey fan base hate or have a derby with, and why should we hate them too?
I think just by geography, our closest rivals are Oakland, and that I feel like Oakland is more of a friendly rivalry, whereas Sacramento is we just don't like them, and I don't know. There's just been some moments there. We went up to Sacramento last year and beat them in their own house when they were first in the table, and that was huge. And I think it solidified both fan bases to just dislike one another. So, yeah,
definitely.
Same for you, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, Chris said exactly what was on my mind. I feel like when Oakland comes down, we have a pretty good presence from Oakland at our home games here, and it always feels like, hey, how's it going? No big deal. But Sac Republic, and maybe it's just because over the last couple of years they've been at the top of the table, that makes it a little bit more of a rivalry. But we'll see. Maybe that dynamic will change. We'll see. I think, though, that, we also don't have a huge presence of people that are, kind of coming down on the other teams. So we'll see if, we have some matches that play out where that will kind of amp up the rivalry. You have to have those kind of special moments to really make one fan base kind of hate the other one. We had kind of a thing last year with, was it Tampa? Or was that year one?
That was year one.
Yeah, year one. But they're not really obviously a natural rival just because of the location. So
geographical. Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we do hop out of here, I will preface this with in the Defiance, our supporters club Discord, we do a prediction league, and I got a lot of heat today because it's that time of the segment where we're gonna go to score predictions. I picked you guys 2-1. Um, but I also want to preface that with I nailed the opener at 1-1, so I am joint in the lead after one match for the prediction table. But I was the first one to pick against RIFC. I was told I would be of gifts that just was absolutely awesome. But I'm here for it. It's kind of what my gut says. It's the first road trip. It's a tough cross country trip. You guys are obviously in good form with the win over Phoenix. So my score prediction is 2-1 Monterey Bay. I'm sorry again to everyone in the Defiance and RIFC, but we'll see how that plays out. Chris, let's start with you. What is your score prediction? How do you see this one shaking out on Sunday?
Yeah, Matt. So I will say it looks like we're going to be having some rain on Sunday. That's what the forecast is predicting out here. So it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be sloppy, but all the way from Rhode Island out to California, you're going to be a little maybe jet lagged. A 7:00 start time is like a 10:00 start for you. I got Monterey 1, Rhode Island 0 is my prediction.
Yeah,
All right.
and not
How
to
about
be
you, Andrew?
Yeah, not to be boring. That was actually my prediction as well, 1-0. Just with the rain, if we do get it as planned, I think that will just make it a little bit tougher on the passes and to kind of get up and down the field. So I'm just not expecting like a derby in terms of the scoring. So I see it as low scoring, and of course, I'm not going to pick Rhode Island, unfortunately. Okay. Sorry,
Yeah,
Kevin.
see, I mean,
Sorry.
as you can see, as you can see from the chat, I'm getting called the son of a bitch from Kevin. We got Tim was saying you're picking with your head. I'll never pick them to lose, but I put in the Herm Edwards gif in the chat. You play to win the game. I'm playing the prediction league to win the game, and I'm going with metrics. I'm going with the cross country trip, the jet lag, all that in order. So I'll take the abuse on that. I can gladly stomach that and take that. But Chris, we'll start with you. First off, thanks for having you on here. Any final thoughts, anything you want to share before we sign off with this one?
Yeah, a couple of things. First off, for all the RIFC Nation fans out there, he just dropped a Herm Edwards reference, and Herm Edwards is a Monterey High School graduate, so he's really stepping in it tonight. Also, backing up to the question about rivalries, and you had mentioned making a cross-country trip as fans. I just wanted to throw out, I've been genuinely surprised. We've had decent support from teams like Detroit, Lou City, San Antonio show up in Monterey. And so I think we're seeing USL Championship and USL as a whole really grow. And so we'd love to have Rhode Island FC supporters out there. We can definitely, if anyone's ever coming out, reach out to us on DMs, and we'll roll out the red carpet for you. Other than that, I really appreciate you having us on tonight, Matt. Oh, and Noah's
thanks,
here.
Chris.
I see.
I appreciate that.
That's Noah in the
We got
chat there from
MBFC
MBFC
discussion says what's up, lads. Another Instagram account I follow, so it's cool to see that coming in there. And I also, before I kick it to Andrew for his final thoughts, I do want to Kevin did clarify his comments, and he said that was for Matt, not the good folks from Monterey Bay. You're fine people. So I am the asshole Rhode Islander who went against the grain on this one. So thank you for clearing that, Kevin. And then your friend Noah did add that he was only just able to hop on, so he'll have to watch it back. So thanks for tuning in, Noah. Make sure you definitely watch it back, and we can all kind of collaborate on the Rhode Island end of it too as well. But Andrew, any final thoughts? Again, thank you for coming on. Final thoughts before we sign off on this one.
Sure. Well, thanks again, like Chris said, for having us. It's been a lot of fun. Obviously, we want to beat the pants off you guys, but it's nothing personal. We want to beat everyone. But I would just say, welcome to the league and have fun with it. It's really a good time, kind of figuring out what you have on the sideline and on the field, and what's going to become of it. And if anyone ever wants to reach out on social media, or if you make it out to a game, we'd love to engage with you. But just welcome and enjoy, because it's really, really fun. And you're a couple games or a couple matches into the season, so I'm sure that you're realizing that already. But make the most of it. It's great having a team.
Yeah,
I definitely appreciate that, and I'll share that your guys' account on Twitter and Instagram, the links in this episode description. So if you're watching or listening, just go into the description. You'll be able to find the Union Report. These guys do some cool stuff online, so make sure you give them a follow. I've been just trying to follow a bunch of fan accounts from all the other clubs we play, just to kind of keep up with it, see what other people are doing, and these guys do some great job. And like MBFC discussion said, make sure you smash that like and subscribe button. It's a lot of fun doing these these videos. It's a lot. I find it just so much fun talking to our fans, other fans, just connecting with people. I think that's the cool part about all of this. So I definitely really thankful for Andrew and Chris coming on, taking some time out to get on RIFC Nation. Hopefully you enjoyed this broadcast as well. Let us know in the comments. Let us know in the likes, and we'll get going from there, and hopefully get some more going throughout the season. But thanks again, guys, for joining. If this is your first time tuning in, again, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and we'll see you next time on RIFC Nation. See ya.
see ya.